Deleted scenes are usually my least favourite thing when it comes to bonus features on a movie. I usually watch them all once and go, yeah, I can see why they removed that from the final edit of the film. However, there are very rare occasions where there's a deleted scene that I wish was kept in. So, these are all those times from Marvel movies and MCU shows. The alternate ending to Blade showed us Morbius, which could have set the sequel up for a film that pits the two against each other, then eventually teaming up to fight a greater threat before Vulture shows up and says, let's make a Sinister Six movie, baby!
Intriguing.
In Spider-Man 2, when the Daily Bugle gets Spider-Man's suit, there's a deleted scene where the extremely Marvel-named J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica Jameson, Jr. puts it on and pretends to be the Wallcrawler. Now, I'm not mentioning this scene because I thought it should be kept in the film. I'm bringing it up because the blinds to this office are on the outside of the room. Who was the interior designer who suggested that? It defeats the whole purpose of privacy. Like how the first Blade movie had an alternate ending teasing Morbius, Blade Trinity also had an alternate ending, this time teasing Jack Russell's Werewolf by Night. I think that would have been an interesting way to tease people into seeing a fourth movie. Essentially saying, we've done 3 movies of vampires, now we're going to go in a fresh direction, exploring other creatures.
Oh, thanks, Ted.
One of the biggest questions that came out of the 2005 Fantastic Four movie was, how did they get back to Earth after being exposed by the cosmic storm? Well, there's a deleted scene that answers that question. They all woke up and presumably flew back themselves. Johnny Storm is like James Bond. They're played off as cool characters, but they would both have a significant amount of sexual harassment claims made towards them, which is why Johnny needed this deleted scene to humble him into realizing his ways.
You know, if I had your powers, I'd be doing something with it, not wasting my time doing cheap tricks in bars.
There's a deleted scene in X-Men The Last Stand where Rogue returns to the mansion, revealing that she didn't actually go through with getting the serum. I like it because it shows that she's accepted who she is, and if anyone has a problem with that, that's on them. There's also an interesting alternate ending where Logan returns to the pub from the first movie. It not only nicely concludes the trilogy, returning back to where it all started, but also shows character growth, with the bartender willing to give him a beer, unlike when he wanted him to leave in the first film for being a mutant.
I remember you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's common for movies to not make all their deleted scenes available, but The Incredible Hulk has 45 minutes worth of them, and some I think should have been kept in the film, including the alternate opening. In this scene, the very Marvel named Bruce Banner climbs to the top of a snow mountain to end his life, and at the same time, the Hulks. However, as he does, that enormous green rage monster comes out and crushes the gun. This scene could have really shown just how damaging the Hulk is, and how not even the host can stop it. There's also a whole bunch of Lennon Sampson removed, and his scenes not only reveal a lot about Banner, but also Betty Ross. For example, we learn that Betty and Leonard are having relationship problems. In the movie, it just comes across as Betty cheating on Sampson because she prefers Bruce. But this way, it shows their romance was already on shaky terms. Another deleted scene shows Bruce getting overwhelmed with emotion due to his situation, allowing us to be more empathetic towards him. I think all of this should have been kept in, and not just because they cut a whole bunch of Phil Dunphy.
Let's go, Incredible Hulk.
The Iron Man 2 alternate opening was one of the most notable moments from the trailer. Basically, the scene starts with Tony being sick in the bathroom, which explains the reason Pepper kisses his helmet. I don't actually have a problem with this scene being deleted, but I feel like they could have started it from the kiss, and it wouldn't have slowed down the movie or affected the plot.
Go get him, boss.
You complete me?
Sometimes scenes don't have to progress the story or tell us something new about a character, like this scene in Thor between he and Selvig. It's a bit of fun, and only adds about 20 seconds to the runtime. I wouldn't have minded if they kept it in.
Another!
A scene that does progress a character is this deleted scene showing Thor giving a mug back to the cafe, replacing the one he broke. This shows us the humanity Thor is starting to learn on Earth.
Another!
I wouldn't have been disappointed if this scene where Bucky, the Howling Commandos, and other members of that unit getting captured was included in Captain America the First Avenger. It's really the only moment in the film that shows the gritty, hiding behind bunker type war stuff that immediately comes to mind when you think of the war. I understand the reason this scene in the Avengers was cut for time, but seeing Steve Rogers adjusting to the present day and learning about what's happened over the years he's been asleep is a really great couple of minutes. Plus, it really made me want to buy the all-new Acura RDX.
Ask for her number, you moron.
I'm usually not bothered when humour is removed from movies, because something like The Avengers has plenty of funny moments, but this 10-second deleted scene where a police officer is given a Chitauri weapon was quite comedically humorous, and again, would have only added 10 seconds of screen time.
If you find enemies down, get the guns. The guns are very good.
Plus, it shows that the cops and army were useful in the battle too, learning of this knowledge and arming themselves with their weapons to be more evenly matched. Maria Hill's voiceover talking to the Security Council at the end of the movie would have been a nice touch too, particularly this line.
The Avengers were the mistake that saved the world.
While there are no deleted scenes from Iron Man 3 that I wish were left in the final edit, there was an interesting moment where we actually meet Harley's bullies, putting a face to the names of the characters set up in the film. There's also a fun moment where Seven says this on the plane.
Hey, is that Thor?
The Wolverine has a deleted scene where he's given his comic yellow and brown suit. I'm actually okay with this being removed because it just feels like an Easter egg for the sake of an Easter egg. From a story point of view, what was the reason for him being given this suit? Ultimately, I think they made the right choice by removing it, because I think it made it even more satisfying when we finally got to see him in the comic accurate costume in Deadpool and Wolverine, both in the yellow and blue, but also the yellow and brown.
Classic John Byrne brown and tan. Now, you fought the Hulk in this outfit, no?
I reckon the writers of Thor: The Dark World were really disappointed when this well thought out line was cut.
You and your father cast large shadows. I had hoped by sharing my gifts with Loki that he could find some sun for himself.
I guess it doesn't really tell us anything we don't already know about these characters, which is why it was cut, but imagine all the money they could have made with t-shirts printing that quote. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a deleted scene where Peter's dad is revealed to be alive. I am so glad they didn't put that in the movie. I think it would have taken away the emotional impact of Peter's life. He's someone where everyone close to him dies. It takes away the idea in the movie where Aunt May says Peter is her son, because he is. She was the one who raised him. A parent is someone who raises their child. Richard Parker isn't really anyone to Peter, so taking advice from him would undermine a lot of the movie and a lot of the character of Peter. I just had to point it out because it's such a notable deleted scene.
With great power comes great responsibility.
They also filmed scenes with Mary Jane. This is something I'm glad they didn't put in the movie either. There is a lot going on in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think adding MJ to the film would have felt out of place, and I guess the filmmakers agreed. I know they released a road cut of X-Men Days of Future Past, but I actually think all that stuff should have been in the theatrical version. Not just because I enjoyed Rogue's scenes, but because it gives the future characters more screen time. That was always something I wish we had more of in the theatrical cut. By giving them a mini mission, it shows that they weren't all just standing around while Logan lies on a table. Her scenes only add an extra 4 minutes to the film. Rarely do I think extended cuts of movies are better than the theatrical, but personally, I think the road cut is the best version of X-Men Days of Future Past. There's also an alternate ending where Wolverine is pulled from the water, but instead of Mystique being disguised as William Stryker, it's actually Will. I never understood why they did this in the movie. Like, William Stryker needed to eventually find him anyway, if Logan was going to get his adamantium.
What do you want us to call him?
Just put down X.
There's an extended scene at the beginning of Ant-Man where Hank locks away his Ant-Man suit. It's a very small addition, no pun intended, but I think it adds the extra info of when Pym definitively decided to end his time as Ant-Man. There aren't many official deleted scenes released for the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, but we know from the trailers that there was a lot of footage left on the cutting room floor, including Ben's plane drop. There's also footage of the team leaving the Fantastic Car, which would have been cool to see. The only thing is, just because these deleted scenes might have been interesting, that doesn't mean it would have necessarily fit into the movie we ended up getting. Specifically this Fantastic Car moment, which looks like what they used to travel to the negative zone, or whatever they ended up calling that world.
Planet Zero.
If they had have kept it in, they would have had to keep in another scene of them going to the car to acknowledge its existence. At the end of the day, Fan 4 Stick had many ratios, so the deleted scenes could have given us a completely different movie. But that also doesn't necessarily mean it would have been better.
It's fantastic.
During the airport fight in Captain America Civil War, there's a deleted scene where Steve drops his shield, then Bucky picks it up, throws it at Rhodey, then Sam catches the deflection before throwing it back to Rogers. I wish they kept that in because it's the three most notable Captain Americas in the comics, seamlessly throwing it around in the movie.
I gotta get me one of those.
X-Men Apocalypse had a much longer scene with Jean, Scott, Jubilee, and Nightcrawler at the mall, having fun and not being feared by non-mutants. It's good because it doesn't just give us slightly more Jubilee, but also shows us a different side to society. Usually the movies show the people who discriminate against the mutants, but this deleted scene demonstrates that most people don't care who you are or what you look like.
They don't fear us.
Putting this deleted scene in Spider-Man Homecoming would have just slowed the movie down, as it's just for comedic purposes, showing Aaron trying to get the webbing off him. But he does have a phone call with the very Marvel named Miles Morales, which is a nice Easter egg.
Yeah, sorry Miles, I'm not gonna make it.
Smart Hulk is a fun reveal in Avengers Endgame, but showing us how that deal was made in the Avengers Infinity War deleted scene would have been really cool. The scene shows Banner and Hulk coming to a mutual understanding to merge together for both their benefits. The only thing that I think this scene has against it is that it would require the rest of the Avengers to make a comment about his appearance, which would completely bring the movie to a stop. If the scene happened earlier on in the fight, it would have worked, because he could run out into the middle of the battlefield at a key moment to save them all from danger. Then have the Avengers looking confused when they realise it's a Hulk-Banner hybrid. However, it looks like the deleted scene takes place just before Thanos arrives, so keeping it there wouldn't really work for the movie. Therefore, I understand why it's a deleted scene.
We'll live and let live.
Live and let live.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I got an idea.
There's a couple of deleted scenes in Avengers Endgame that clean up a few plot holes left in the first 3 phases of the MCU, like Rhodey questioning Steve's method during the Second World War.
And you couldn't have jumped out of the plane before you crashed it?
And Rocket explaining why all the Chitauri just happened to drop dead after the mothership exploded.
The Chitauri are the suckiest army in the galaxy. Why don't you just blow up the mothership?
Peter's to-do list was released as a mini-movie, so even though it's still technically a deleted scene, at least all the visual effects were done to enjoy the 5-minute short. Having said that, I still think it could have been kept in the movie.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your job.
Oh!
Another fun deleted scene is from the first season of Loki, where Chris Hemsworth voiced Throg, returning to Asgard to reclaim the throne that Loki stole off him. Sometimes deleted scenes don't need to add anything to the character or story for me to want them kept in.
You turned me into a frog!
Clint and Maya have a nice moment in a deleted scene from Hawkeye, where Biden apologizes to her before she accepts and sadly acknowledges why he did what he did. This would have been nice closure for both of them if it was kept in the series. Morbius is another example of a movie with a lot of footage left on the cutting room floor. However, once again, most of it wasn't released as deleted scenes. Despite this, we know that the very Marvel named Simon Stroud had a robotic arm in the trailer, but not the movie. That would have been interesting. According to Tyrese Gibson, he had a whole arc that was cut. The scene that takes place in the park was actually a fight between him and Milo.
You save lives, you don't take them.
There's a Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness deleted scene that hasn't officially been released, but apparently at the beginning of the movie, Mordo would be chasing Wanda to remove her magic, only to be outpowered by the Scarlet Witch, ending his life. I really wish they kept that scene in. Not only would it have tied off the loose end left in the post-credit scene of the first Doctor Strange movie, but also shown us straight away that Wanda was going to be the villain.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy.
There's a deleted scene in Black Panther Wakanda Forever taking place after Okoye is stripped of her rank as general of Wakandan's armies. She tries to leave to undo everything, but the Dora Milaje stop her from flying off in an aircraft. Instead of fighting, Okoye yields before a battle can begin, knowing there's no way she could defeat them all. I like that moment because it not only shows us that Okoye knows her limits, but despite her emotions being high and wanting to save Shuri, she ultimately decides not to let that take over her actions.
I have to find her, and I don't need the Queen's blessing to do it.
Now, I went through literally every single released deleted scene from every Marvel movie, so if I didn't mention it, it's because I agree with it being deleted. Most deleted scenes don't really add anything to the movie other than a humorous moment, extended scene, or alternate dialogue. However, I'm sure there are plenty of other deleted scenes that were never officially released that could have been a nice moment to keep in. Maybe that's why they don't release all of them, or people will be like, why did you delete that? But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what Marvel deleted scene you wish was kept in. And don't forget to absolutely obliterate those like, subscribe, and share buttons. I'm just kidding. Only do it with enough force that it registers. I don't want any of you breaking whatever device you're watching this on.